What's up everyone? Welcome to my channel here on Honeybee Hollow Home. This video has us placed in my kitchen where we are learning from my cousin Breyton how to make a South African donut recipe called Koeksisters. He was visiting from Eswatini, Africa, and this recipe that Breyton shared with us came from his good friend Logan, who was gracious enough to let us share it here on the channel. Other than the einkorn wheat flour that we used, the other big component to the dough for the donuts was mashed potatoes, and this provided a really nice texture that I hadn't ever had before in a donut. Once that water for the potatoes was on the stove, we started up a pot and melted some butter. Then we combined our dry ingredients of einkorn wheat flour, sugar, and cinnamon. Breyton had never used einkorn flour, so initially we were both not too sure how it was going to turn out, and in the end we ended up having to add a lot more flour than we anticipated. So this is why I'm not including a explicit recipe, because I'm not quite sure what exactly we used, but sometimes that's just the way it goes, and you have to improvise in the kitchen with what you've got. After weighing out the dry yeast, we combined it with milk, and then this mixture was added to the beaten eggs we'd done earlier. The wet ingredients are then added to the mashed potatoes. Then the dry ingredients are stirred together with the mash mixture. I love baking. I love making any type of batter or dough.
It is the best.
It's so beautiful. You remember what I said when we ended up having to add more flour? Well, as we kneaded the dough, we added more. And einkorn wheat has a very low gluten index, so it takes a little bit of kneading to strengthen those gluten bonds. Now, all that's left to do is to pop it in the bowl and let it rise for a bit. Breyton likes to take the Koeksisters dough outside in the sun to rise, so that's exactly what we did.
Basically what you're going to do is, once this has risen for about 2 hours, we're going to bring it back in, roll it out into a roll, and we just it looks like a sort of loaf, a bread loaf, and we just cut up a piece, roll it out, and you just twist that, braid it. It depends on how people like to do it. I just twist it. It makes my time and life a lot easier. So I just pinch it at the end so it doesn't split open once it's being deep fried, and you just let it rise while they'll rise up once again while they're just sitting ready to be fried again. So yeah, that's
word up. Nice.
good.
Beautiful. Oh yeah, perfect.
That is perfect.
All right. And now we are on to a little bit more kneading and also beginning to form the dough. So once the dough was all kneaded and rolled out into the loaf that Breyton was telling us about earlier, we began cutting that loaf of dough into small pieces so we could roll them out as you're seeing here. And from here, Breyton showed me that all we're doing is just giving it a cute little twist. But I did notice other recipes online where you could actually braid them, and both look great. It's up to you based on how you want your Koeksister to look. And one by one, slowly all of our Koeksisters added up, and we began to split into different jobs. So Breyton started frying the Koeksisters while I continued to twist the rest of the dough. now the next task is to create the syrup for the Koeksisters. The syrup was a combination of water, about 2 cups of sugar, a little splash of vanilla, and a cinnamon stick. We brought this to a quick boil and then down to a simmer to dunk the Koeksisters in, and from there the coconut flakes were sprinkled over them. These are way better eating when they are super fresh, but their best texture lasted for about 3 days when covered and kept at room temperature. Breyton had mentioned that some people freeze them to help them last longer, but we didn't do that with these. Something that a lot of people in our YouTube community probably don't know about me is that I'm an only child. On top of that, my parents are from different countries outside of the US, so I have very little family in America, let alone here in South Carolina. I was so excited to have Breyton come and visit because I so rarely get to see any blood relatives. And you can bet that there were many differences amongst us. But those same differences brought so much laughter. And there were a few communication barriers, but that usually brought more laughter anyways. The plan is to make Koeksisters again, and I'll smile remembering the fun that we had during Breyton's time here with us in Honeybee Hollow.